Welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to make butter chicken pies. Check out the description box below for the full measurements and ingredient list. Firstly, we're going to begin by marinating the chicken. For this, add oil into the chicken along with the salt, Tandoori Masala, Chilli powder or Basaar mix, which is a mix of spices, Garam Masala, Coriander powder, freshly grated ginger and garlic paste, and then give this a really good mix, making sure that each of the chicken cubes is coated really well with the spices. You can also add a pinch of red and orange food colouring, however that's optional. Once it's mixed, it should look like this. You then want to cover and refrigerate for at least 1 hour, or for best results overnight. When you're ready to cook the chicken, just place this into a non-stick pan. There's no need to add any oil as we've already added oil into the marinade. You then want to cook the chicken over a high heat, and after a few minutes you'll see that the chicken starts to leave some liquid. You want to evaporate all this liquid and cook the chicken as quickly as possible, as you don't want to overcook it. Once all the chicken has turned white, you then want to add in the dry fenugreek leaves, which you can find from most Asian food stores. Once most of the liquid has evaporated, you then want to turn the heat down to medium to avoid any burning. And once all the liquid has evaporated, it should look like this. You then want to turn off the heat at this stage, and then you want to begin by making the gravy, which is also listed in the description box below. So in a separate pan, begin by melting the butter. When it's fully melted, add in the sliced onions. And then on a high heat, just soften the onions for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you then want to add in some more freshly grated ginger and garlic paste, and then give this a really good mix and cook this paste off for a few minutes. You then want to add in the cashew nuts. You don't need to chop these up as we're going to blend the mixture afterwards. You want to give this a really good mix and just continue to cook the onions. Once the onions turn lightly golden, you then want to add in the cumin seeds. You then want to add in the chopped tomatoes, chili powder, paprika. You then want to mix the tomatoes and spices really well with the onions and continue to cook on a high heat until the tomatoes have fully softened. As you're mixing, just make sure that you start to break down the tomatoes with the spatula. This will help to brown the mixture quickly, and then as you can see, the onions will start to turn brown, and you want to cook these until they're fully golden. The mixture should look a bit like this. You then want to allow this mixture just to cool for a few minutes and then blend into a thick paste. You then want to empty this back out into the same pan and then add in the 400 milliliters of water. I use the same jug to add the water as this gets any last bits of the mixture out. Give this a really good mix really quick just to get rid of any lumps, and then it should form a really nice thick gravy. You then want to add in the fried chicken, and then give this a really good mix, making sure that the chicken pieces are coated really well with the gravy. You then want to add in the salt, tomato puree, freshly chopped green chillies, coriander powder, sugar, you can use any kind, I've used brown, garam masala, and some more dry fenugreek leaves. And then just give this a really good mix and make sure that you've got the heat on low. You then just want to leave this mixture to simmer over a low heat until the butter appears. You can stir occasionally, and as you can see, now the butter has appeared. I'm just going to finish this off with some freshly chopped coriander. Once the mixture is done, it should look like this. The gravy shouldn't be too runny as this will soak and ruin the pastry, but it shouldn't be too dry either. Turn off the heat and leave this mixture aside. If you want to make individual pies, you will need to grease a muffin tray, or you can also use ramekins. You can use any size, the cooking time will just vary. For this recipe, you'll also need some ready rolled shortcrust pastry and 2 cookie cutter rings. You'll need 1 large size and 1 smaller size. Use the large cookie cutter to cut out the base for the pie, and you can use the smaller one to cut out the top. If you don't have cookie cutters, you can just cut around the ramekin. Place a larger piece of pastry over the base of the muffin tray, and using some extra pastry, gently push the pastry into the shape of the mould and remove any air bubbles. Just be gentle with this so you don't create any cracks. You then want to flatten the top sides of the pastry over the edge. If your pastry doesn't hang over the sides, it's too small and it won't seal properly, so you'll need to make sure you cut it out big enough. You then want to start adding in the chicken mixture. Just make sure you don't overfill this, as you still need some space to add the top of the pastry. You then want to place the smaller piece of pastry that you've cut over the top and gently seal the edges down. You then want to pinch the sides of the pastry all the way around just to make sure that they're stuck and sealed together. And then using a fork, you just want to press down on the edges just to create a nice design. And then you also want to create 2 holes in the middle just to let out the steam. And then you just want to brush with some egg just to give it some nice colour. And then just repeat the same process for the rest of the pies. If you're making the pies in a muffin tray, just make sure you leave one space between each one just so the pastry doesn't stick to each other. You can also make these pies and place them in the freezer whilst in the muffin tray. Once they're frozen and set into shape, you can then transfer into sealable bags and cook from frozen when needed. Once they're ready to go into the oven, you want to bake for around 15 minutes at gas mark 6. The cooking time will vary depending on the size. You can also make one big pie. For this you can just use a cake tin and cut the pastry around this. Just make sure you leave about 1 inch, or depending on how deep the tin is. And again, like before, just place this over the base, and using some extra piece of pastry, just push this into shape and remove any air bubbles. Once into shape, you then just want to add in the chicken mixture like before. You then just want to place a smaller piece of pastry on top and just gently seal the edges all the way around. If you've got any extra pastry hanging off, just trim this with a knife. And then like before, just pinch the edges just to seal, and you can use a fork again just to create design on top, and then just create some steam holes in the middle and brush with some egg. And then you just want to bake this in the oven at gas mark 6 again for about 30 minutes. After about 15 minutes, you then want to remove the individual pies. They should have a nice golden brown top and have a firm pastry on the bottom when fully cooked. If you like this recipe, make sure to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Make sure to press that bell notification so you can be the first to be notified about all my upcoming videos. You can also follow me over on my official Instagram page, Fooditives. The link is in the description box below, where I upload all my written recipes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.